What if the thing you're afraid of might hold your agency back is actually the thing that makes it stronger? That's exactly what happened with today's guest, Erica Hakonson. She made a bold move. She went all in on one niche, Microsoft Partners. And not only did it work, it changed everything. In this episode, Erica shares how narrowing her agency's focus led to over 500 clients, deeper team expertise, and visibility that keeps compounding. We talk about what it really takes to specialize, how to turn insight into authority, and why saying no early can unlock bigger opportunities. If you've been circling around a niche but hesitating to commit, this conversation will shine light. Tune in. Welcome to the Small But Mighty Agency podcast. If you want to grow an agency to 7 figures and beyond without working more hours in your business, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Audrey Joy Kwan. I know what it takes to build an agency, including supporting an agency owner in selling and exiting. I also have a master's degree in communications, specializing in organizational development. My team and I have worked behind the scenes of multiple 7-figure agencies and have coached and consulted with over 150 agency owners. All this to say, when you join us on the Small But Mighty Agency podcast, you get real-world experience and practical tips that help you work less, earn more, and lead with integrity. So let's go. Hey friends, today on the Small But Mighty Agency podcast, we're diving into what it looks like to go deep, not wide, and build an agency that thrives by serving a very specific high-growth niche. I'm joined by Erica Hakonson, CEO of Maven Collective Marketing, an award-winning agency that has spent over a decade empowering Microsoft partners with measurable high-impact marketing strategies. Erica and her team have worked with over 500 Microsoft partners around the world, helping them stand out, get marketplace ready, and grow with confidence inside the Microsoft Cloud ecosystem. In this episode, Erica shares what it takes to truly specialize, how her agency became a go-to expert for Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program growth, and why carving out a focused niche has been key to building both resilience and results. If you've ever wondered what going all in on a niche really unlocks, or how to build an agency with a reputation inside of a global partner community, this one's for you. So let's get into it. Hey, Erica, it's so good to have you on the podcast. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Me too, Audrey. It's really nice to be here, and it's so nice to see you again.
Let's start at the beginning. What led you to start a marketing agency, and how did you land in the Microsoft partner ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, when you're on the outside, it sounds like a very obscure, odd thing to target and focus on. And I think when you and I had our initial chat, you were kind of like, didn't even know this exists, never heard of this. This is so interesting. So my background is actually that I started one of my initial career jumpstarts was working for Microsoft, working in Redmond at the headquarters. And so I got a great opportunity early in my career to understand if tech was for me, if these kind of closed tech ecosystems were for me. And I got put in a position where I was running a technology adoption program with my team and working exclusively with partners on dog fooding technology that was like not ready for mass consumption, which gave me really deep, interesting relationships with partners because, I mean, in some days we were all suffering together, like, why won't this work? And in other days we were in a, rapid deployment of something and it was very exciting to have gotten there together. So I had that opportunity to really get that exposure at a young time in my career and just fell in love with that community, loved the problems that came up, loved that each partner was different enough that, working with them communications wise, strategy wise, et cetera, it was different enough and we were solving enough different problems that it just kept my mind going, both, from a data side and from a creative side. And I immigrated to Canada and that was a whole experience in itself and took me a little while to find my network here and had the opportunity to work for an agency on the outside of Microsoft that worked with Microsoft and Microsoft partners and thoroughly enjoyed that and had the opportunity to work with more great partners there. And then eventually, when I decided I was going to start my own business, to me, it just made sense. I already had people asking to work with me. I was really starting as a consultancy of like, oh, maybe it'll just be me. And then quickly, it was more than I could handle, and I needed lots more resources. And here we are 13 years later. And, we're a strong but mighty team of about 20 worldwide.
Nice. Okay. What were the early signs that niching down to Microsoft partners was the right move?
Yeah, it's a scary endeavor to decide I just have one client, one type of client, and no other types of clients. So I'll tell you early on, we were B2B tech, we were SaaS, we were saying all the things, but like we only work with Microsoft partners, but then look at our client roster, it's only Microsoft partners. And I did find it really very fearful to say, this is all we work with and I'm going to turn away other work, because, when you're early in building of your company, you want all the work, especially as you're hiring, because you have payroll on the line and you're always worried about that next source. But honestly, it's the best decision we ever made. As soon as we declared this is our own one and only niche, and we were able to show what value we brought because we knew that ecosystem to a greater level of detail than any other agency, and that we were and are the marketing partner for Microsoft partners, then getting clients did not become an issue. It really was like, how have we not heard of you yet? Why aren't we working with you?
I love that you said your clients tend to say to you, how come we haven't heard of you yet? And I think when we first met, that was my first impression. It's like, wait, I didn't know there was a niche that looked like this. And it's such an interesting one for us to explore, because I'm sure there are listeners right now who are thinking, wait, what is this niche? What is this niche? And so can you share a bit more? Can you describe the unique needs of Microsoft partners, and how does your agency speak directly to those needs?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Microsoft ecosystem is massive in that there's 500,000 partners worldwide. So 500,000 businesses that are selling licenses, working on services, deploying further custom development systems or even products on top of a Microsoft platform, which means we have to know a lot of Microsoft technology to be able to speak to these individuals with any kind of competency. Now, every ecosystem in the tech world has this. So there are exclusively Google partners that work on Google storage and tech stack. There's exclusively Salesforce, AWS, Amazon. And so all of these ecosystems require you to learn a really specific language, the opportunities that are available, and how all of them differ. So we have worked with Google partners, Salesforce partners, Acumatica partners, AWS partners, but it's only because they're also Microsoft partners, Cisco partners, the list goes on. And so we're talking to them about their Microsoft stack. And sometimes there's a need from a marketing side that may come up in another ecosystem. And we will, if they're clients, work with them if that's a need that we can fill. But when we get approached by, say, AWS partners, like, partner marketing, tech and ecosystem well, come help us exist and thrive in this system. I have to be honest to say, we don't know it. This is not where our specialty lies. Like, could I fake it till I make it? Probably, but would the value be there that I know we have for our clients that are in this Microsoft ecosystem? I can't guarantee that. And why I say we can do it on the Microsoft side of things is because we know everything about marketplaces, Partner Center, how funding works. We just launched a 2025 global Microsoft partner benchmarking and insights reports, where we did a survey of hundreds of partners globally to get them answers for those questions around getting designated, focusing on specialization. Should they have MVP? What are core success benefits? How are they getting funding? Does participating in community events matter for those things? Are they getting more leads? Are they getting more funding? Do managed and unmanaged partners have the same advantage in the Microsoft ecosystem? Like, there is no other company that's doing this level of drill down in detail to get partners these answers. And so that's why I say this is where our niche is, and we're like 150,000% invested, because it's all we look at and it's all we talk to and work with.
I hear that, and I hear a lot of time and energy from you and your team focused on being the brain when it comes to understanding Microsoft partnerships. And so it's like you've really invested. And when I say invested, what I mean is you haven't just said, yes, our niche is Microsoft partners. You've really invested deep into the Microsoft partner ecosystem. And that is doing things like the research paper. That takes time, that takes energy. It also empowers your team to own that compound knowledge, so to speak, because there's one thing of you being the person who understands the Microsoft partnership ecosystem world because you came from it, but it's another thing for your team to learn that ecosystem as well too. And I feel like this going all in and investing in projects that make you the thought leader in this space also empowers your team. With that being said, I'm also really curious, how has specialization shaped your team? How has it changed your team? And what does it require from your team in order for them to now be these thought leaders inside the Microsoft partnership ecosystem?
I feel like we work on quite significantly on a daily, weekly, monthly, biannual basis. So there's a lot of things we do to invest in that knowledge. The report is one thing. We launched the survey. We had a number of people in our organization working on data analysis and data sets, and we had 50,000 data points that we were trying to pull together meaningful correlation between. And what I loved was when we got to the point where we were writing about these outcomes, writing about these learnings, is that each person on our team, every single person on our team, had a role in putting the content together and making meaning and understanding of it. So it is exactly what you said. It gave our individuals the ability to talk about proprietary data in a way that no one else in the world can, right? Because we're the only ones that have run this survey. And so it really did. You could see it lift up the knowledge and the confidence of every team member, whether they're, a strategist working on accounts every day, or maybe they're a coordinator that's working behind the scenes. Our content and creative team really flourished together in putting that. And then our data team coming in and kind of validating and providing more context and insight from all of the ways that we kind of slice and dice the data was really, really interesting. But the other things that we do is we do really extensive onboarding. And I say that because we've just taken some new team members through the onboarding, and some of them are just arriving at the end of it. And it's, 3 months into their role where they're still onboarding, and we're always teaching them and learning. And then biannually, because we are a team mostly in Vancouver, but we do have team members outside of Vancouver and some other places in the world, we fly in our team every 6 months and we do biannual strategy and planning together. And, one of the sessions that we had just a couple of weeks ago was all about the Microsoft ecosystem and how it's changed over FY25 and what we're looking at for FY26. And we send people to conferences to learn more and learn the language and speak more the way we hear Microsoft speak, or at least be able to explain some of the acronyms that we may hear that maybe the partners don't yet know, learn about other funding opportunities. So it's something we're heavily invested in for our people. And it really comes out in the way that we deliver for our clients.
I hear so many wins happening in producing that thought leadership. It also empowers your team, because one of the great things is it's your team who's supporting pulling this stuff together. Mm-hmm. So it's like this feedback loop that really is happening. And I love hearing that, because I think that's made possible when you do niche deep and you're not going wide, and that the time spent in that area has a lot of juice, in many different ways, whether it is your own marketing or even the operations. Now, you mentioned something that had my eyebrows kind of perk up, and you mentioned the evolving landscape right now within Microsoft. And I am curious, Microsoft's been at the forefront of this AI wave. How has that impacted your clients, and how have you helped them stay relevant through shifts?
Lucky for us, Microsoft partners were some of the first to get access to things like Copilot, and they're first to get access to, not just Copilot and Microsoft 365, but across Dynamics, into the, the data and AI side of the Microsoft tech stack. So if anything, we're learning new things from them being able to test it, try it, put it into new scenarios, and get to write case studies on this work and be just really wowed by some of the things that our clients are trying and producing and making repeatable, scalable, sustainable, and responsible AI solutions across the Microsoft ecosystem. So one of the things we're working on right now for some of our partner clients are called Partner of the Year Awards, where we really get to highlight where they've taken their services, the Microsoft product, the Microsoft stack, and then how they've kind of elevated to a different level to where they would be considered Partner of the Year, whether that's in a certain workload, in a certain region. And it's a really fun opportunity to get to hear more depth and into different teams and into different client work that we get to witness for our clients. But then we also get to make meaning out of it and translate it into something that, Microsoft really cares about, where they want to see their scorecard move, but they also want to know about the real, heartfelt opportunities that this technology is creating and gaps that it's filling and, things that we never thought could exist just a year ago or 18 months ago. So that's I would say more than anything, we're learning from them. We've had Copilot licenses. We use a ton of AI in our agency, and it's really to try to make us more efficient, to deliver faster and better. And so we use it every day across many, many different opportunities. But we're also taking advantage of the fact that we work with partners that know this stuff really well. So one of our partners that we've worked with for years is leading a Copilot workshop for us to teach us better ways to use these opportunities in all of our productivity tools in Microsoft 365. And we're working with a separate partner to teach us how to build our own agents in ways that we're able to get some of that mundane, redundant work out of some of our people's hands and into, a computer that can do that mundane, redundant work. And then we're really focused on the things that drive value for our clients and less focused on the repetitive tasks.
Yeah, 100%. In the community that I support, our community is called Agency Together. A lot of the conversation has been around AI, and some of the clients I work with, it is about looking at the redundant work that takes a lot of time but doesn't require a lot of brain power, and looking for opportunities to create agents behind those things so that we can free people up for the higher level thinking. And I think a lot of agencies are looking at what those tasks are, and they could be different for different agencies, and then looking at how to build those things out, but also providing a lot of transparency to their clients and what is human work and what is AI work. And I think that's a really important conversation. I don't want to get too much into the AI conversation. I want to lean back into a question I thought about when we were in our coffee chat. Now, if you are serving clients who are all Microsoft partners, but differentiation is this promise, what do you do to help these Microsoft partners carve out positioning in what can really feel like this, crowded partner marketplace?
Yeah, that is the crux of the problem, right? There are 500,000 partners across the world, and do some of them do the exact same thing? In a way, yes. Some of them do the exact same thing. And we do work with some clients that have some similar targets. And our job is to really get into the work with our clients and understand what unique value they bring that's different than any other partner that we've heard or worked with or have done competitive research about. So one of the first things that we often do with clients is assess what their brand messaging framework is. Because if they don't have strong brand differentiated messaging, then that means they've probably, and by no fault to their own, taken a lot of what Microsoft is saying and repeated it on their website. And so they kind of just sound like Microsoft. And then it becomes very much a who's the cheapest price game, because why wouldn't you? And so, Microsoft, to its credit, gives a ton of great marketing material to use, but it isn't lift and shifted onto your website. It's see what you can use that resonates with what you're offering, and then combine that with your value and your messaging so that it can be that better together story with Microsoft, but it does really highlight what you're bringing to the table and what you're delivering to your clients. So we spend a lot of time on that with clients up front. We really do. And we do, I don't want to say we pressure them on that, but we definitely need to get that distinct answer, because if we don't, and we start to just go into, campaign work, then, the campaign work's not that great. We can't do a very good job if the messaging isn't resonating, if it's not clear to us where the value lies. So we spend a lot of time interviewing clients of our clients to get the words out of why they are customers or clients, and then why they stay around. Like, what is the value that keeps coming? Why is it, is it because they have like a deep bench of technical resources so that anytime you have a question, they have an answer, and all of a sudden you've talked to 10 different people in their company and wow, they're really smart. We have one client that's, over $500 million a year in revenue, and we work with the marketing team and with the strategic alliance team, but we do talk to a lot of people on the sales side and in the workload side. And every time we meet someone at that client's side, they are just smarter and nicer and more skilled than the last person. Like, I don't know how they hire over there, but it's incredible. And so it's really easy to talk about the value that they deliver to clients because we see it every day interacting with their staff. And they're a people-forward organization, even though they're a technology organization. And it shows because their people are outstanding and they deliver this incredible service. So it's easy to talk about. So we spend a lot of time on that up front with clients. And when we hit it, when we know that the messaging is right, everything else comes so easy.
I love that. It's like bringing together two different types of brains, because your client has a very technological brain, and it may seem like the marketing provided by the Microsoft Partners Program could be enough, but the challenge with that, it all sounds the same, right? It's almost like you can't cookie cutter that across all your different clients. And what's great to hear is that your clients tend to understand that. And that's why they look for you. They look to you to be able to be that creative brain and to pull out what's inside the organization that might be hidden in people. And they might be able to communicate the results, but we all know that oftentimes results are communicated through desires, through pain points, not just through features. And it feels like that really is a big role for your team, is to come in and add that human aspect to very technical brains and companies that are doing very technical things, so that the person who's buying their product, their ideal client profile, their ideal client buyer, can understand what they're selling. And so it's great to hear that there is a lot of time spent in terms of figuring out what the core messaging is, and that does require a people-to-people conversation, just getting deep
100%.
with that organization. Okay, you have built really strong ties inside the Microsoft community. When we were chatting, you had mentioned that your own marketing isn't about being the loudest. It is very focused. And so what have you really learned about building trust and visibility inside the partner ecosystem?
I mean, what's interesting is I think a lot of agencies just generate leads for me, or get people to show up for this event and build me this website that drives traffic. And that's all true. That's all part of marketing. And it's things that we do in a roundabout way. But in the Microsoft ecosystem, we get a lot of requests to build the relationship and strengthen the relationship with Microsoft in many different ways from partners, because one, that's their closest partner. Two, Microsoft's a powerhouse engine. They have so many sellers and they sell with partners. So that means that can potentially be a lot of leads for partners. And if they get that co-sell motion right, then if you do it well, you get repeat sellers wanting to work with you and bring business to you. So that is one of the, core things that we focus on for our clients, is how do you strengthen that relationship with Microsoft? And that benchmark report is like some data ways to answer that. And then our team works on the strategy ways to answer that as well. So yes, you could go to Microsoft Ignite, you could go to Build, you could go build relationships one-on-one, and that's great. And you should. And you should definitely be looking for opportunities to get closer to Microsoft within your network. But you'll also know, if you've been working with Microsoft long enough, is that as soon as you know the right people in the right division and have something good going, Microsoft reorgs and they've been put in a different side of the division, and you're like rebuilding relationships with whoever has moved into that spot. So we use the tools that Microsoft puts out into market that help partners. We use the co-op funding that are available to a lot of partners to help make the cost of us frictionless. And then we also use the ways that we can show up to Microsoft publicly and through co-sell readiness and go-to-market strategies that get in front of Microsoft in a bunch of different ways while building that network for them and while getting in front of Microsoft to say the things that they care about. I mean, they care about things that are much different than what the client cares about. You know, you're solving pain points for a client that are operational, that are difficult, whether it's, you know, losing money on paying too much for legacy systems, or maybe they have moved to the cloud, but they lifted and shifted and now that the storage amount has ballooned. Maybe security is a huge problem because they've gone to AI and now everybody has access to all of this private confidential data that needs to be locked down with different sensitivity labels and Purview and Microsoft Defender and all of those things. Microsoft cares about consumption. Microsoft cares about driving further licensing and licensing upgrades. Microsoft cares about cross-selling product. And so, these are very different messages, right? These are very different motions. And so, you know, we have that ability to, yes, we can do lead generation. We can build your website that can be found. We can do all of those things. But in addition to that, we can get that relationship with Microsoft really piped and flowing so that, you know, you're looking at the opportunity of being a partner is having these two different pipelines, and then also having the ability to connect with other partners that maybe don't do what you do, and you can refer each other business or, you know, work through each other for certain projects. I mean, there's just so many opportunities and so many opportunities partners may not be aware of in the Microsoft ecosystem that we are because we've been in it for so long.
I love that. So there's an opportunity for your clients to tap into your knowledge of how to maximize that partnership network. And it could look like bringing together two different types of Microsoft partners who do different things so that they can become referral partners or have strategic partnerships. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big believer in strategic partnerships and referrals and collaboration over competition. So I love that theme. I'm also curious, how about for your agency? What type of marketing do you do that attract the right clients? In this case, attract Microsoft partner businesses. I'm imagining that it's very focused. I'm imagining that there are a few key things that you do that you're not spraying and praying because it's obvious who you serve. Those Microsoft partners probably go somewhere to drink water. When I say drink water, what I mean is get their marketing info. And so if you're showing up in the places where they're going to get their marketing info, there's a likelihood that you're going to meet someone or meet a bunch of them. And, you know, it's easy to then lead into that conversation of how you can help them. Again, I'm putting words in your mouth. I'll hand the mic back over to you and maybe you can share more about your marketing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, we can't just throw up Google ads and Microsoft partners will find them because they don't just type in Microsoft partner marketing agency. Like they don't because they don't know we exist. And so absolutely we go to where they drink water. We go to events and join communities and have memberships and are, you know, participating either as sponsors, speakers, presenters, community members. I sit on the membership board for the America's IAMCP, which is the International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners. And that obviously we're helping drive membership. It's a nonprofit. It's a great organization. Partners can partner through this organization. And I also serve at an international level as their Markaram advisor. And we participate there, yes, because we love the organization, but do I also get exposure from sitting on those boards? Sure. Sure, more people hear about me and I'm in more meetings for that type of thing. We go and deliver some of our thought leadership at different events like Dynamics Communities and Dynamics User Group, Directions, those types of things. So we're able to meet them there. You know, are we very niched in how we go out there? Well, we ran a survey of just Microsoft partners and we delivered a report exclusively to Microsoft partners. And both were valuable because in the survey, they learned about maybe funding opportunities they weren't aware of. And in the report, they're learning about tons of ways to strengthen their relationship with Microsoft by learning from other partners. So is that purely because we just like to put out good data? Sure, we like to put out good data. Are we learning more partners are interested in this data? Sure, we are. So that's absolutely another way. Next month, I'm running a webinar with a CEO of another organization that really focuses on partner enablement and sales enablement in the Microsoft ecosystem, which is not something that we focus on. And we're talking about this together and have a joint offer together around getting transactable in FY26 on the Microsoft marketplaces, because it's becoming a very fruitful endeavor, both for Microsoft sellers who will be able to retire quota and for Microsoft partners who then get transacted through Microsoft, which Microsoft prefers. And so it's a win-win all around. But like you said, strategic partnerships where we can help each other absolutely makes sense for us as well.
Thank you for giving us a peek into how you do marketing. I'm curious about your journey of growing this agency. Is there anything that you feel like if you had to do it again, you would do it differently?
So many. I'm not just one. How much time? How many do you want? I actually just recently wrote an article for Women We Admire. I was a top 50 women we admire in marketing and had the opportunity to contribute some content around that. And my article was the biggest mistakes I've made as a business owner. And the first one that I would do over is that I have bootstrapped this thing from day one and was very fearful, or maybe not totally consciously aware of ways I could have financed this to grow faster. It was also a very busy time in my personal life with young children. And so that may have also kind of regulated the growth that I wanted. But for anyone going into it now, 100%, I would be looking for finance and getting into a position where I'm hiring employees from day one. Because when I started hiring employees, my agency ballooned. Like, I had an opportunity to have resources. I wasn't always worried when I'd make a big deal of if I could deliver on that big deal, because I had the resources that were competent and that, had shown how great they were at managing strategy and accounts and all of those pieces. So that would be a huge different starting point. If I was starting it today, and this wasn't available when I started, but I would definitely start with an AI first mentality. And by that, I mean, I would get the mundane, redundant tasks programmed out of our work life instead of having to retrofit that into the agency now, which is a painful relearning and change management. And we're doing it and it's happening. But even myself, I find I do silly tasks every day that could be done by AI because I've just done it that way. And I kind of forget to use the tech that would be most enabling. And so that change management part, I would stick in there from day one. Absolutely. Another thing that took me years to learn is that some relationships aren't worth keeping. And I think you probably can relate to when you're young and in your business building, you take on clients that when you first met them, they are not a good fit. And then it's going to be a rocky road to try to get through this relationship without scars. And I did. Like, I took on plenty of clients that either were just an absolute not a good fit in the beginning, or threw some red flags pretty early to where we knew we were going to have some issues with them moving forward. And I've gotten in a way better place of when we're meeting clients before bringing them on to go ahead and say, we're not a good fit. And I'm okay with that. I don't have any problem saying it. And it's best for both sides of that relationship. And that was a skill set that took me years to learn, but I'm so happy that we're in the place now where we aren't wasting our time and they're not wasting their time. And we can absolutely just both be able to say, there's a better partner for you and for me.
So many golden nuggets that you've just shared there. As a business owner, there are some lessons that you have to go through to learn. And the last lesson that you described about saying no to not right fit clients, I feel like it's almost a rite of passage for a lot of agents to have to go through that. It seems like, okay, if I say no to this, then I'm not being a responsible business owner. And so we tend to lean into yes. Over time, it's discovering the pain that happens when you say yes to non-right clients, and then experiencing that pain maybe once, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times before it's like, okay, I won't be doing that again. I'm glad that you brought that up because I do feel it's important to hear that many agency owners go through that. And on the other side of it, there is an opportunity to say no and still have an extremely successful business.
Absolutely.
In fact, I would say that it will help you go faster because you are focused on the right clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the times that I have said no has led me to greater opportunities where if I would have said yes and stuck with this client that felt like wasn't a good fit from the start, I may not have had the capacity or been open to the bigger opportunities when they came.
The other point that you made about hiring faster, I can almost hear the thoughts in the listener's mind, and they might be saying, well, isn't that a lot of risk to hire fast? Because now we've got a whole bunch of people in the business that we have to support. How do we know when it's the right time to invest all this money into hiring, even if the work isn't there yet?
It's definitely what kept me in my zone of, maybe I'll just be a consultant, or maybe I'll have a few contractors on the side. Maybe I won't be a fully fledged employee agency, big business that requires so much from payroll every 2 weeks. I was lucky enough in the last 20 years to have a very solid influence in my life, which is my father-in-law, who built a very different business than mine, and like very brick and mortar, very product heavy business. But his advice in entrepreneurship and his advice in really like keeping business and, the more pressure you put on yourself, the more you sell, like the more you challenge yourself, it actually happens. Your maniacal focus on sales will happen when you have payroll, right? Like when you don't, there are lots of things to distract you and take your time. And I mean, I'm not saying all I do is sell. That is absolutely not true. But when I do have a bigger payroll and I haven't been here in a while, it really made making those connections, telling people I was looking for the opportunity to have a good referral in their network that they thought would be a good fit, being a client of ours, and getting myself in front of more people, the priority for the business. And that didn't mean we were slacking off or not still making a priority of deliverable. It just meant growing was a goal and we had to focus on that goal. And my father-in-law absolutely was the epitome of that. And, he was of a time and of a generation that was like, he was gone for 6 months selling while he had a family at home because selling needed to happen, right? That's what happened. And that, thank God for virtual everything these days where I am not on the road 6 months of the year. I am on the road, not to that capacity, but he has passed just this past March. And there are so many times in my business now, I think back to some of the like just critical, casual advice he gave me and just think, man, he's so right. These are some of the things I should have done so long ago.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I really enjoyed that story. I think that for some people, that pressure of having to make the payroll does increase certain activities that are easy to put in the back burner. I think a lot of agency owners tend to love delivering work. I think a lot of agency owners like you start off with being a really strong expert in something. And so it's easy to default into what's quote unquote easy for the business owner. In most cases, it could be delivery. And when you don't have a little bit of pressure to get you to move from the delivery seat into the marketing and sales seat, it is easy to slide back into delivery. And so I think for certain agency owners, it's not all agency owners, so I can really see the value of that perspective right there. Thank you for sharing that. Oh my goodness. I am so certain that people are going to want to connect with you after they hear your nuggets of wisdom. So where can people find you?
Find me. Well, our website is mavencollectivemarketing.com. And I'm, of course, on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me there, Erica Hakonson. We also have a great newsletter through LinkedIn called Partner Bites with a Y, and we talk a lot about Microsoft marketing there, but we talk about a variety of other kind of movements and motions in the B2B marketing world. So that's always one to get a hold of us on. And then, we have a great YouTube channel. So if you prefer to consume content through video, definitely follow us on YouTube, where we're always, we'd love to put a snippet of this podcast on there to drive people to listen to the whole thing, but just putting out educational content on how to be able to do that. And, if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, I'm sure we could also hook up at events, plenty of events that we're going to this year, such as MS Ignite in San Francisco, Summit in Orlando, Biz Apps in July, and Bellevue. So around in the event space as well.
Thank you so much, Erica. It was a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, it's so nice to be here. Thank you, Audrey, for having me on. And thank you for putting this podcast out for agency owners. It's important. And it's like all the questions that I have wanted to know as an agency owner. So I appreciate you asking them.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me at the Small But Mighty Agency podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you hit the follow or subscribe button in your podcast app and share it with a friend. I'll see you on the next one.